Of course, the upside of having regressive institutions like slavery is that it gives rise to an underclass of itinerant gospel-preaching biblical types. However, when there is change, panic is always justified. That's why we spoke to immunologist Alke Germain herself, a kingpin in the woofer trade, about the negative health effects of the woofer pandemic.
Now, Alke, we've been doing some research into this new phenomenon of a lot of families in Valemount are catching woofers. And, with the H1N1, we want to be on top of this pandemic. So, can you help me? What is this woofers?
Woofers, worldwide opportunities on organic farms, or it's also been called worldwide workers on organic farms.
It sounds bad.
It's wonderful. It's the best idea they've ever come up with. I first heard about it on CBC Radio, and it sounded like the old-fashioned hired hand. And when somebody comes to the back door and says, "Lady, can I chop your firewood and for a meal and sleep in your barn?" And that's basically where the idea came from. It is a lovely idea. It's a great way to travel around the world. You don't need any money for accommodation and meals. So the host provides you with 3 meals a day and a bed. And you're supposed to work 4 to 6 hours a day, 5 days a week for the host. And it's a great way to see the world, and some people have done it all around the world. And yes, they may spread a few germs, but they spread more kindness and knowledge than germs.
Okay.
And we found instead of us traveling, we've traveled the world just meeting all these different wonderful people. What we have to provide is like a bedroom with a door that locks, so they have some privacy. They share the bathroom, so that's not a problem. But you do need to give 3 meals a day. And the best thing about it has been Valemount. The young people in Valemount have been so wonderful, and the older people. They've taken her hiking. They took all my woofers horse riding, hiking. They got raft trips. They got I'm just trying to think, canoeing trips. They went skiing in the mountains. They got to sleep overnight in one of the Yora cabins. It's been wonderful, and everybody's put a lot of effort into welcoming them and including them. So I had a German woofer, and she ended up staying for a year, which wasn't and the Japanese one stayed for Christmas, the German one stayed for Christmas, and they stayed much longer than they intended because they said Valemount was so wonderful. And then we had one from France now, and she was going to stay a week, but she stayed 2 months. And she said at the end, "Is this typical of Canada? Is everybody in Canada as wonderful as the people in Valemount?"
So there are some delusional people who do
Yes,
think.
but they've all said that because they got to know people. It was a small town atmosphere. And then the one who went back to Germany, she cried and cried, and she phones all the time and cries. The one from France, she went to Nelson now, and she went to a commune, a farm, and she was really looking forward to it. But she's out of touch with the community. She doesn't know anybody there. She's out of town. She has no transportation. She phones and she cries. And people here were so wonderful to her. They've had a few language problems. That's the sort of glitches that we've come into. I had one Japanese girl. She was supposed to make jam, rhubarb jam. And I gave her all the baking and cooking things and like the measuring cup, everything. And then I wrote down the recipe very simply. And the recipe said, I want to show you this. This was just so cute. It said 4 cups of sugar. And I gave her this measuring cup. So she went, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And I caught her just at the 4th one. And I said, no, not. But she said, this is a cup, right? I said, no, this is a measuring guide. This is 4 cups. And she was being metric. I just about had some very sweet jam.
How is woofing? I mean, apparently it's not a disease. I can see that.
Yes.
Even I know that now. But is it a modern form of our old-fashioned and much missed slavery? In your mind, it's not slavery.
No. These kids, they worked well, but you do have to give them tasks so that they can do. And the only ones we ever allowed to use a power saw was the Czechoslovakian ones, because they had used a power saw back home. But even a lawnmower can clip off their toes or their fingers. The ideal woof host are supposed to remember it's not just free labor, and the students want, or the young people want to learn something, a new skill, farming, whatever, and they want to see the area they're in, but they want to see Canada and learn about the culture too. And you, the host, are supposed to help them to that.
So is that a problem in Valemount?
It's been wonderful.
Is there culture in Valemount?
Yes, come on, overflowing. No, they have just loved Valemount. And you're not supposed to introduce them just as woofer. You're supposed to introduce them by their name, which we always try to remember to do. And
they all have names?
yes.
Do you find that woofing is catchy? Is it?
Oh yes,
spreading?
oh yes. You know, from when we started, I didn't know much about anybody else doing them, and now there's quite a few people doing it. And it's so nice when other people have woofers, because then our woofers can go with the other people's woofers, and they get the same day. And we're very flexible. We give them the same day off then, and then they go horse riding together, and it's so much more fun. You have to set boundaries. That we learned to do that.
Alke, thank you so much for coming in and talking to us about this. I know it's still a threat, and we'll be watching for it.
Yes.